Like a poet hidden in the light of thought, singing hymn songs unbidden, till the world is wrought to sympathy with hopes and fears it heeded not. And so the invisible skylark is compared to a poet hidden from public by the originality and obscurity of his ideas. See, you can't see the skylark, you can hear the music. Skylark is up there at a great height, so you cannot see the skylark. Similarly, the poet is invisible from the public in his originality. He is hidden from public by the originality and obscurity of his ideas. See, the poet, highly motivated, imaginative poet, he has great ideas which he conveys to the reading community. And sometimes, just as we cannot see the skylark, we cannot understand the intensity of his thoughts, but you will enjoy the music of the lines written by the poet. Clear? And then, like a high-born maiden in a palace tower, now the skylark, and then like a high-born maiden, see, skylark is compared to a young damsel, a maiden of high birth, a girl residing in the palace tower, and sings songs of love to relieve her passion. She is invisible to the people outside, but she is heard by them. And similarly, the skylark's music also could be heard by us, even though we cannot see the skylark. I told you about the three important similes used by the poet to explain skylark and its unique qualities. And so what is the first comparison? Skylark is compared to a young maiden of high birth. This girl is residing in the palace tower and she is singing beautiful songs of love to relieve her passion. She is invisible to the people. People cannot see the maiden. Maiden is inside the palace, but the passers-by can hear the beautiful song made by the maiden. Just as we hear the music of the skylark, even though we cannot see it. So a soul in secret tower with music sweet as love, which overflows her bower. Then the second comparison, like a glowworm golden in a dell of dew, scattering unbeholden. Unbeholden, glowworm is invisible, but it is visible by its light. Similarly, skylark also is invisible. Among the flowers and grass which screens it from the view. And so the second comparison, skylark is like a beautiful shining glowworm. Sometimes the glowworm is hidden from the world. It is hidden behind the leaves and the bushes, but you can see the light. Similarly, you cannot see the skylark, but you can see, you can enjoy the melodious music. Then the third simile, like a rose empowered in its own green leaves, by warm winds deflowered, till the scent it gives make faint with too much sweet those heavy winged thieves. And so, just as the rose is hidden from the world, but the sweet smell of the rose flows out, you can hear the sound of the music of the skylark, even though you cannot see the lark. Then you will see the next stanza. Sound of vernal showers on the twinkling grass, rain awakened flowers, all that ever was joyous and clear, and fresh thy music doth surpass. And so, again, the poet says that when the rain showers fall on the earth, when the drops of rain fall on the grass, it makes a sweet sound. But more sweet is the music of the skylark. Then the poet in the next stanza teaches spirit or bird, what sweet thoughts are thine, I have never heard praise of love or wine that panted forth a flood of rapture so divine. That is again, the music of the skylark is full of rapturous joy. And so that is revealed in its music. And so again and again the poet says that there are very beautiful songs and many sweet songs are there. But the song of the skylark is sweeter than these songs. And then he wonders, what are the sweet thoughts that provoke the skylark to sing so melodiously? Or what is the reason why the skylark is so happy and why it is able to sing so melodiously? Chorus Hymeneal. Hymen is the god of marriage according to Greek and Roman mythology. Hymen is the god of marriage. Hymeneal means relating to marriage. Here chorus hymeneal means marriage songs. Chorus hymeneal or triumphant chant mashed with thine would be all, but an empty want boasting, a boast, a thing wherein we feel there is some hidden want. A hidden want, a deficiency that cannot be defined. Hidden want refers to a deficiency that cannot be defined. And so now again Shelley says that, see, already he had said that the music of the skylark is sweeter than other songs. Now he says that even our marriage songs and then the songs of victory. Songs of victory, when a country after the war becomes victorious, they will be singing songs of victory. But the poet says that marriage songs and victory songs, they all gives happiness to the hearer. But more sweet is the music of the skylark. And so it is more melodious than the marriage songs and the victory songs. Within the human mind, there is some deficiency which cannot be defined. But for the bird, it has no worries at all. Then, what objects are the fountains of thy happy strain? Meaning, what is the source of the happiness of the skylark? The poet puts forth a question before the skylark. What is the question? What is the source of the happiness of the skylark? The poet wants to know why the skylark is so happy. How can it make such melodious songs? And so he is asking the lark, can you tell me please what is the reason for your great joy? And then, of thy happy strain, what fields or waves or mountains, what shapes of sky or plain, what love of thine, love for its own fellow creatures, what ignorance of pain, or is it because it has never known any sorrow or pain? And so, here in this stanza, the poet is asking, putting forth a question before the skylark. Oh skylark, how can be so happy? You are so happy, that is why you can sing so melodiously. What is the reason? Is it your love for your own fellow creatures? You are so loving, that is why you are singing sweetly. Or do you have no pain at all? Or I can assume that you have no worries at all, like the human beings. With thy clear, keen joyance, joyance means joy, happiness, languor, laziness cannot be. You are never lazy, You are never irritated. Shadow of annoyance never came near thee, you. Thee is an archaic form of you. Thou lovest, thou again an archaic form. Thou lovest but never knows love's sad satiety. And so what is satiety? Sad satiety. The feeling of disgust which human beings experience as a result of excessive enjoyment. What is satiety? That is when you enjoy too much, you will become fed up. Isn't it? You will reach the saturation point. The poet says that you are always happy, my dear Skylark. People, human beings, sometimes they are happy, sometimes they are sad, but you are all the time happy. Then you are lazy at all. You are not at all lazy. Human beings at times are lazy, but you are never lazy. Then shadow of annoyance. We human beings sometimes become irritated, annoyed. We will show our irritation, but you never show it. And we human beings, when you enjoy excessive enjoyment, you will become fed up. You will develop a feeling of disgust. But you don't have anything like that. Even happiness will reach a saturation point for human beings. After a certain level, you cannot enjoy. But that is not your case. You are 100% happy. Waking or asleep, thou of death must deem things more true and deep than we mortals, we human beings dream. Or how could thy notes flow in such a crystal stream? The continuous joyful flow of the music of the lark is mentioned here. Again, he says that you are all the time happy. That is why you can make a great flow of music. Your music never ends. Both in waking and sleeping hours, Skylark must be seeing only truer visions of nature and death. The poet is analyzing why the lark is so happy. And then he comes to some conclusions. He says that human beings are worried by 100 reasons. But the skylark, even when it is awake or whether it is asleep, it is always happy. It has only happy thoughts. That is why it can sing profusely. We look before and after and pine for what is not. Our sin, that is very important. Our sincerest laughter with some pain is fraught. Our sweetest songs are those that tell us saddest thoughts. Life of human beings, it is full of disappointments and frustrations. Unadulterated happiness only the skylark can enjoy. Human beings look before and after. You remember I told you, human beings, they always regret about the past. They look back at the past. They look forward to the future, dreaming too much about the future. But we fail to live in the present. We are not happy with the present. But a skylark is not like that. It lives in the present. It is happy at the moment, at the present. And so, even our happiest songs has a tinge of sadness in it. Yes, yet if we could scorn hate and pride and fear, if we were things born not to shed a tear. And so, what happens to our happiness? Human happiness is marked by feelings of hatred, pride, fear, etc. Human beings are born to suffer and to shed tears. See, the lark is happy all the time, 100% happy. But we are not happy. Why? Our happiness is always marked by feelings of hatred, pride, fear, all these things are haunting human beings. So we cannot be happy all the time. And the poet painfully says that human beings are born to suffer and to shed tears. We cannot be 100% happy like the skylark. I know not how thy joy ever should come near. Better than all measures of delightful sound, better than all treasures that in books are found, thy skill to poet were, thou scorner of the ground. The skylark is scornful of the earth. That is why it flies in the higher regions above. If the poet could acquire the musical skill of the skylark, he will sing rapturous songs like the skylark. See, what is the meaning of this stanza? The skylark is scornful of the earth. One thing is mentioned. Why skylark is always seen at a great height? It doesn't want to be in this earth. It scorns the earth. And then the poet says that if the poet can acquire the musical skill of the skylark, he will sing rapturous songs, joyful songs like the skylark. Teach me half the gladness that thy brain must know. If the skylark could communicate to Shelley even half of its joy, Shelley would feel inspired to write poems, even to compete with the song of the skylark. See, now the poem ends with a prayer or with a demand. Shelley tells the skylark that if the skylark can communicate to Shelley the reason for its ecstasy, and if it can communicate at least half the joy it enjoys to the poet, then the poet can sing very beautiful songs. He can write beautiful poems which can compete even with the poems. It can compete even the music of the skylark. And such harmonious madness from my lips would flow. The world should listen then. The world would definitely listen attentively to the poems of Shelley as I am listening now. And so the poem ends with a prayer. He says that, tell me, skylark, what is the reason for your ecstatic joy? Communicate to me at least half of your joy. If I can have at least half of your joy, the joy of the skylark, I can write beautiful poems which can compete even with the music of the skylark. And then he says that, and in that case, when he writes such beautiful poems, world will listen attentively to his poems. The whole world will listen attentively to the poems of Shelley, just as Shelley listens attentively to the music of the skylark. Understood? Shelley and his wife goes for a walk, and there he hears the skylark song. He was captivated by the music, and he listens there, standing there attentively. And so he says that if he can have half the joy of the lark, then he will be able to write beautiful, excellent poems which can compete even with the songs of the lark. And then the world will attentively listen to his poems, just as he listens attentively to the song of the skylark. Understood? Hope the poem is clear to you. The poem is very important. The idea conveyed by Shelley. Shelley also is a very famous romantic poet, the most revolutionary among the romantic poets. And so you read and study the poem. Hope the poem is clear for you. So much for the day. Thank you for listening. And we will meet in the next class. Thank you.